Shake your sillies out. Hi, this is Luke from e-CBD, and we're going live today to talk about Facebook ad targeting. Look, Facebook ads in and of themselves are such a broad subject, and there's so many options, and Facebook ads are a wonderful way to reach out to potential clients and customers. But today we're just going to focus on ad targeting. And so we're not going to talk about ad types or that kind of thing. We're just going to talk about how to best target people within Facebook using Facebook ads. So the first thing we'd encourage you to do is take a look at Facebook Insights. Now, if you haven't already looked at it, you go to your Facebook page and page settings, and kind of in that more where you're doing more of that editing and changing your Facebook page. You've got quite a few options in there. If you look for Insights in there, you can go there, and the two areas you want to look at in particular are People, the People tab, and that gives you age, gender and location information, which can be very helpful to understand who's already engaging with your posts and your page. And so that can be really valuable, of course. The other thing you want to look at, and this is more kind of in the ad creation side of things, but is the Post tab, where you can look at the kind of posts that people have engaged with previously, and so that can help you in that ad creation stage in going, okay, look, these particular images might work particularly well, etc., or this particular type of language, etc. But we're not going to cover that today. We're going to look at that probably in another Facebook Live episode. So the other thing that you want to look at is Facebook Analytics. Now, to be able to access Facebook Analytics, you need to have a Facebook Pixel installed on your website. If you don't have one on your website, that's definitely something you should look at doing, especially if you want to get the most out of your Facebook ads. So once you've got that Pixel installed, and if you need help with that, you can always talk to us, then you can go to the Facebook Analytics area and particularly you want to look at People, the People's tab, which is on the left-hand side of the navigation, and then Highlights. And then usually that data will probably line up fairly well with your insights, but this is actually looking at people who are on your actual website. And what it gives is, instead of just showing you how people are engaging with you on Facebook and your Facebook posts, it's showing you, okay, this is how people are then engaging with your website, and then giving you relevant demographic information about those people and how they're engaging with your website from a Facebook perspective, which is a bit different than Google Analytics, which we're going to talk about next. So Google Analytics, if you haven't got it installed on your website, definitely that's something that we'd encourage you to do, because otherwise you're just flying blind. You don't know who's on your website or how they're engaging or where they're coming from, which pages they're visiting, how many people visit your website each week or day, etc. And most importantly, have you got goals set up? Do you know when somebody submits a lead? Do you know when somebody purchases? Have you got e-commerce set up so you can see how much revenue you're making out of each purchase? All those sorts of things, Google Analytics can give you that information. It really helps you to target everything that you're doing, all of the actions you're taking to make your website more profitable. So if you're looking at analytics, what we'd encourage you to do, look with all these analytical, when you're looking at this data, I'd say at least 30 days data. Insights, I think, only gives you 28 days. Facebook Analytics does give you a lot longer, a much wider range of period that you can look at. But then Analytics will go from as soon as you install it all the way up to the present day. So some people can have up to 5 years of information about people and how they've interacted with their website. So I would say at least looking at 30 days worth of data, maybe 3 to 6 months or more. And then you can do so much with analytics. If you ever looked at Google Analytics, obviously it can be quite daunting at times. So I'll give you one area that you can at least look at. Going to acquisitions on the left navigation. Then from there go to channels, which shows you all the different ways people are coming to your website, the traffic. And then social, and then Facebook. And what that will show you is purely people who have come to your website through Facebook. And so then to make a bit more, make that a little bit more meaningful, you can use the secondary dimension, which you'll see is kind of at the top of that information, the data below. It says secondary dimension, and then in there you can include things such as city, and that'll tell you which cities people are coming from, to your website from Facebook. Or you can look at device category, which will tell you, mobile, tablet, or desktop, and which is most popular for those people who are coming from Facebook. And then finally, maybe you want to look at the pages and which pages people are visiting when they come from Facebook. Now, that brings me to an important point. With all this information, there is an informational bias. You're looking at what exists already. So that doesn't mean that necessarily you should set up your Facebook ads to do exactly the same thing. Maybe you want to try and target outside of all of these people. So maybe you go, look, I can see a lot of 25 to 35-year-old people are coming to my website and they're engaging with me on Facebook, but I think maybe people who are a little bit older need to know about me and my brand and my products and services. So therefore I'm going to target them with ads. So you've got to kind of remember that. That's what's happening now. So therefore, like I said, you may want to target exactly those same people, or you may want to look at targeting people who are outside of the norm, or what's actually happening. So take all that information, maybe you want to write some things down, write some notes down, let it all kind of distill in your brain, and then, okay, how do we start targeting? So this is going to be practical. We're going to kind of walk through those steps of targeting on Facebook. First of all, your budget. Minimum $5 a day, I think, is probably reasonable. You can do lower with certain types of ad, but I think if you want to give it you want to give enough exposure to the ads, I think $5 a day minimum. And then what you want to do is you'll find that Facebook will actually prompt you, depending on the type of ad, whether you're spending enough or whether you're not. So that's also a factor to consider. Geographical targeting. So if you're a local business, obviously you want to keep it within probably a fairly tight local area, but maybe sometimes you want to experiment with that, maybe reach further afield. Like I said, you might want to, all your people coming from a certain area, maybe you can service people outside of that area, and maybe that's who you want to target. With national businesses, again, you can target in areas where you've had success before, or maybe you want to try and reach people outside of those areas. Age and gender, okay, like I said, you can target those people who are most engaged, or maybe you want to expose yourself to people who are who haven't engaged with you as much. Now, the detailed targeting, this is where I think it can get, because there's so many options, and from a marketing point of view, Facebook gives you so many options as far as people's interests, relationship status, financial status, their home ownership, whether they're renting, all these sorts of things. So it's very powerful in that regard, but can be a little bit daunting as well, because what do you choose? What I'd suggest is choosing kind of your main focus area. So let's say you're a cupcake store. Okay, you want to try and show your ads to people who are getting married, so that obviously you can do some wedding cupcakes. So therefore, obviously targeting people who have identified themselves as being engaged in your particular area. Then you might want to further narrow that by including people who are interested in cupcakes and maybe your particular area and niche that you're strong in. And then you may even want to narrow that further by, say, targeting people who, they might have a gross income of $60,000 or more, because your cupcakes are a little bit more expensive, or depending on whether they're paying for the wedding or not, I guess. But yeah, so you're using that targeting to narrow it down and kind of work through. And you got to be careful that sometimes you can narrow it down too much. But yeah, you want to experiment. And look, with all of this, experimentation is key, but also then giving those experiments long enough, at least I'd say 2 weeks. 1 to 2 weeks, and sometimes preferably a month, and then looking back and going, okay, how did that all work? Look at that data again and see, did you see a positive result, or did it not work? Okay, finishing up. Connection types. So obviously some certain ad types might be applicable to people who are already connected with your Facebook page. Maybe you want to target people who are friends of people who like your page, so it's like a word of mouth type ad. So that can also be very powerful. And again, editing placements. So like if we found out in Google Analytics that people from Facebook are mostly on mobile devices. Maybe we just want to focus on mobile placements, or maybe we want to push out towards Instagram on the Facebook advertising, or So think about your placements in that regard. Sometimes, again, maybe you want to start broad, might want to start simple. Don't kind of overcomplicate it, and then as you go on and as you see the results each month as you're advertising, you try and work out, okay, what's working, let's do more of that and let's improve on it as best we can. All right, that's a whole load of information, and I know some of you probably will go, what's he talking about, and I don't understand half this. That's why we're here. We're always happy to answer your questions, and we can certainly help you if you need help with your Facebook advertising, or installing a Facebook pixel, or making sense of that analytic data. We can do information learning sessions with you. So if you have questions, reach out to us through Facebook, or through our website or phone, and then we'd love to hear from you. So next week we're going to look at ad creation, and going to learn how to, again, best create ads that are going to return the most value for the money that we're spending, because Facebook certainly doesn't need more money in its pocket at $180 a share. So thanks very much, thanks for watching, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.